Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Nick Fair from the IT Innovation Centre at the University of Southampton, and I'm here today with my colleague
Dr. Stephen Phillips, also from the IT Innovation Centre.
Now, having modelled the system and set the impact levels for our primary assets and then run the risk assessment, the next thing we need to be able to do is to look at what controls we could put in to try and minimise or mitigate those risks. This can be done in three different ways, and we will look at all three of those different ways now. So Stephen, what's the first way we should look at this?
Yes, so Nick, the controls are added to the system to help prevent the threats that we found to the system.
Okay, so in the previous stage, just before we ran the risk assessment analysis, if we have a system that's already quite mature, unlike this one, which is basically a system we've imagined from scratch, but an actual real-world system would likely have already some controls present. We would want to model those in before running the risk assessment.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well. There's two kind of separate cases. As you said, we've kind of imagined this system. So maybe we're at the stage of designing a system and you want to use the sort of security by design approach, where you're working out what controls you need right from the start before you deploy it. We've got nothing now, so let's work out what controls we will need. But quite commonly, you're also taking the approach of, I've got an existing system, let's reproduce that as a sort of digital twin in the software, and absolutely someone will be saying, oh, well, we've got all these things already, put them into the model, and then we'll see where we are.
Great. So if, for example, if you were starting up your own company, you might be looking at a security by design approach, in which case you would model the system without any controls, blank, like we've done here. However, if you're working for an already established company, you might take the digital twin kind of approach and model those in before running the risk assessment.
Exactly, yeah. So either way, before we really dig into what the threats are to the system, we're going to put in some baseline controls that are just definitely going to help. So if I click on the canvas to get out of the customer data view, there's a couple of obvious places already where we can be looking at controls on the right hand side here. But in addition, we can just start at an asset level. There's different ways round to doing this. Let's go for the opening up this controls panel here, and you can see there's 9 pages of different controls, and one thing that I know for sure would be useful is making sure that all of the hosts are reasonably well secured by having a secure BIOS. So the BIOS is around the boot up sequence of a computer, and you can secure that with a password and some settings to make sure that you can't reboot it with a USB stick in there and then get into the hardware or whatever, or make sure you've got a strong password on there. And if I click on Secure BIOS, I mean, it's highlighting on the canvas with a red outline there the assets that this relates to, and we also have a list here of the assets that it relates to, and I can just click on Assert All, and we're going to make sure all of those hosts have a secure BIOS. So that's really quick. If you know secure BIOS, that's a good thing. Just put them in there.
So, for example, that's the equivalent of saying that all of these hosts, essentially the computers, are now password protected as one example of a secure BIOS.
In the boot up sequence, yes, and making sure that they don't boot off a USB stick. Yeah, so that immediately increases the security of the system, and you could do that across the whole model very quickly.
And in this way, what we've done is to apply the same control to multiple different assets in one go.
Exactly.
Rather than going to each individual asset and applying a control just to that one asset, which would be the next way to
exactly
to do.
Yeah. So let's look at that as a technique. So I mean, and we could also just see if I click on the laptop and I go to controls, big list of controls, and you can see down here the secure BIOS one has been selected. So I could have gone in and chose it on that individual asset, which we could do now for the company premises. There's only one of those anyway, and there's only a few controls. And what we're going to do is say that there's a physical lock, okay? Because at the moment we've got a private space, but there's no lock on the door, right? So it's not terribly helpful.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, of course, the lock is there, but we haven't told the system. Yeah. We haven't told Spyderisk that the lock exists.
Exactly.
And naturally, of course, any company will have lockable premises.
Yeah, and there's different sorts of locks here. This is just the sort of standard lock and key, but there's chip and pin, there's biometrics, which have different effects. But we'll just choose a key, basically. Well, we've chosen the lock, and the next point is that we also need to specify that the people who must access the space have a key. So this is this is an example of what we call a control strategy, where sometimes you need one control on one asset and another control on another asset, and only when you've got both of those together does the strategy come into place. In fact, in this case, if we don't give the people keys, well, the consequence of that is that those people won't be able to interact with the system, and that will cause other issues. So let's click on the system administrator and give the system administrator their physical key, and then they'll be able to get in. And we should also remember to give one to the sales manager. But let me just go back to that whole control strategy concept I was talking about.
So just to be clear, a control strategy is where you have two or more controls working together to achieve a heightened level of security.
Exactly. So another simple example is if a service needs a password, you think, well, that's kind of just one thing, but actually we model it as password verification at the service and a password in the hands of the user. So it's very similar to this lock and key concept, but you need both. And so in this case, the control strategy is called physical key to space, and we can see that 1 out of 2 of those possible control strategies are present. And this is another way in to adding controls.
So this is the third of our possible options.
Exactly. So the situation we got here is the control strategy physical key to space combines a physical key and a physical lock. And it's showing us that for the pair, system administrator and company premises, it's all good. We got both. The panel has gone green there. But the other place the control strategy exists is with the pairing of the sales manager and the company premises, and we deliberately forgot to give the sales manager a key.
And I guess in this instance it's important, I mean, in simple terms, the people who work in the company will need a key to get into the building, but individual people with separate individual keys has its own set of risks associated with it, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things that we're able to model is control strategies can both solve problems and create other problems. So as soon as you have a lock on the door and you have a physical key or a chip and pin card, then we're actually also now going to model the possibility that that person has lost their key or their chip and pin card and therefore can't get into the private space and therefore can't to play their part in the system that we're modelling. If you're using a biometric door access, then that particular problem wouldn't arise. So with biometrics, you're securing the space and you've not got the risk of someone who should be able to get in not getting in. So that's another of the really key things about Spyderisk. We're modelling controls, solving one problem but causing another.
Yeah, so in this instance, we solved the problem of the building being open to anyone by putting a lock on it, but we created a new risk of somebody with a key losing that key and that creates a different set of risks.
Yeah.
And this sort of cascading flow of risks is something which Spyderisk deals with automatically, and is normally a very complex process that many other software won't be able to do.
Yeah, I mean, and it's, quite commonly it's just done as a manual analysis, and that's next to impossible to get complete or consistent. So we've only added on a key and a lock and a secure BIOS. There's lots of other controls or control strategies here that I would personally add into this system. Nothing too esoteric, just ordinary things like passwords, like some security training maybe on the different hosts. So how about I go away and add on all the other things that I think a standard business would have, and then we come back to seeing what sort of state the risk analysis is in.
Yeah, so we'll finish up the controls section here, and maybe you can go and have a go at putting your controls in as well. There's no right or wrong in this. You may choose to add all the possible controls, or you may not. But let's see what you come back with and how that compares with what we do in our next video.
Yep.
Thank you.